Can you recall a time when being aware of AI philosophy and principles helped you accomplish something you had thought impossible, or it allowed something powerful and unexpected to emerge for yourself, others, organizations, or communities? What happened? Who was involved? What role did you and others play? What were the short and long-term impacts of using an AI approach on individuals and the system as a whole? Please tell the story in as much detail as possible.
Okay, so I'm actually relatively new to AI and to the AI community, although it's one of those things I actually say kind of jokingly that until a little while ago with another colleague, we were actually starting to invent it until we realized that it already existed and that people were practicing it and that there was a whole community, and so then I started looking into it more deeply, and I was part of a network of coaches. I'd taken a training in professional coaching, and there were these get-togethers that this network of coaches would have kind of on a monthly or monthly basis or every couple of months, and it was very loosely structured, and there was one central person who had trained all of us in this coaching technique, but she was part of these gatherings, but she didn't want to necessarily take the lead, and kind of was and kind of wasn't, and there were a couple of other people who kind of were and kind of weren't, and some of the meetings would be interesting and have lots of involvement, and others not so much, and there was starting to be this kind of negative spinning going on where people were starting to say, we've been going round and round and nothing concrete's happening, and we just keep saying let's do something and not happening. So there was maybe a lack of leadership, or a kind of a thirst for leadership, or a thirst for somebody to do something, but people weren't following each other's initiatives, and it really, that's the best way to describe it, is this kind of negative spiral, and people were starting to go, and this is the last meeting I'm coming to, and if something concrete doesn't start happening, I'm out of here. And my colleague and I kind of looked at each other, and again, we had just kind of a very general grasp on the appreciative inquiry process, but kind of said at this one meeting where I think it was kind of a critical turning point, and we said, this sounds like maybe an opportunity for appreciative inquiry, and a couple of people in the group had heard of it, others hadn't, so I gave a very quick overview of my understanding of what it was, and we offered to facilitate a little session in this. So it was a 2.5-hour session is what it started out as. And we had enough of we work as facilitators, and we had enough of we designed something that we knew would hold together and had the general principles of an AI approach behind it. And it started with the appreciative interviews in pairs. And I just remember looking at when we first sent people off into their groups doing the paired interviews, the woman who had trained us all in this coaching approach came up to us partway through and she said, how do you do this? How do you do this? And there was, people often talk about the energy shift in the room at a certain point, and that's totally what happened there. And she was just, it was kind of like, she had been a coach for several years, and was just suddenly something magic had happened in this group of people, and she was feeling it. And I just remember laughing because it was so simple in a way, and the how do you do it was, well, we just put it in the hands of the people who wanted to do something with it, and we got people talking to each other, really. And then so all we were able to do in that first 2 or 2.5 hour session was interviews and some dreaming, visioning. We gave them flip chart paper and pastel crayons and stuff. Hesitated a little bit, not sure how that would go over with this group of people, and in terms of the different organizational cultures they came from, and so on. They just flew with it, and got really creative. There was laughter happening all over the place. People went really far with their visions. They dreamed big. We ended up realizing that we needed another one, so a month or two later we did more of another 2.5 hour session that was more allowing for design and doing, or the action part of it. And it gelled, and it turned into an organization, and they created it. That was just the turning point for this organization to happen and to come into being and to actually really start functioning. And now there's a website, and there's a body. I'm actually not part of the organization itself, and I one of the interesting things I think about it is I think in some ways appreciative inquiry has sometimes a hidden magic to it too, because I don't know if anyone thinks back to that moment as being such a pivotal time when the spiral changed directions, but I'm pretty sure that the appreciative inquiry approach had something to do with that happening.